we wanted to have him pass out some of the awards along with Melly DeVoe. Archie has since passed away. But here, dedicated people who just, no question, did everything that they had to do without any gripes.
Right. And finally, for now, let's say a word about the drill master, Larry Buckley.
Larry was epitomized by every youngster that came in contact with him. He's the kind of a guy who, as a youngster, you looked up as a father. Great man as far as prestige. Father Darcy had the utmost respect for Larry. And the committee, of course, gave Larry, hey, Larry, that's your job, you do it. And he did. He had a way with kids. Thank God.
Yep.
He really did. And up to the passing, even when he passed away, we had a ceremony over at St. Richard's, and Drum Corps was well represented, I'll tell you.
I bet. I'll bet it was.
Yeah, he's the type of guy that every person who's running something would love to have.
Yeah. Peter, let's talk about the Corps in terms of the players, okay, and what they have to go through, how they have to perform, and what's expected of them. And when you and I were talking here before our taping, it's a very physical, demanding occupation.
Yeah, even more so today than when I was in. You see, today they do more dance, they do more acrobatic stuff, and you physically have to be ready for this. Not only must you be able to play an instrument well enough, because everything is judging on points, you've got to be able to physically stand all the rigors of all of these different massive drills that they put out. You talk about productions. Now, they have stage productions like you never see before in your life, right on the field. They change clothes behind screens in the middle of the field. It's unreal. But at the same time, every kid knows how much it's demanded of them, and yet you will have kids traveling from here to Madison, Wisconsin for the summer to travel with the Madison Scouts. My nephew did that. Now, you know, if you didn't have the wherewithal, they would never ask you in the first place. But at the same time, it's big business now, big business.
Right. What you're saying really is the players have to have more than being just a good musician.
Oh yes, definitely.
That's important, but that's not all there is to it.
Not today. Today you've got to be physically safe. They go through calisthenics prior to going to work on the drill field. And I mean calisthenics. Down at the Tournament of Drums, we turned around and you watched them out on the Cooney Field going through completely, well, you'd say, my God, what are they training for? A run race, a road race, or stretching and everything else?
Yeah.
So it's a very rigorous type of activity.
Tell us a little bit about the travel hardships that are involved, Peter. When a Corps has to pick themselves up 100 people strong or more and travel how many hundreds of miles?
Give you an indication. Last at the Tournament of Drums, there were 4 drum corps who left at maybe 6 o'clock at night, and were traveling for 4.5 hours, some 5 hours, to Canada to compete the next day.
Yeah.
The only sleep they're going to get is on the bus.
Yeah.
Now, when they come to Beverly to our contest, they think it's heaven, because they're sleeping on the floor in their sleeping bags, but they have showers. So it's heaven. Oh, they go to Beverly. Oh yeah, we get showers. So it's a rough deal, because, you know, to have some kids today say, oh yeah, that's a snap. Do it first and then say it.
Especially when it all comes down to those minutes on the field.
15, that's it.
And so much work that goes into that small amount of time. Make or break.
Yeah, and some of the instructors have bad habits about putting changes in 3 hours before. And that's why I always get shook up about some of these judges, the instructors that that like to change things. Oh,
Yeah.
this might help our point score a little bit better.
Yeah.
Why don't you do this?
Well, we're going to see a video clip in just a moment of, I believe the Boston Crusaders will come up first here. But would you say, Peter, that the quality of performance on the field is better today than perhaps back in your time?
Yes, because of the finesse. Now, if you watch this film clip and you see the Boston Crusaders, going back over the years, like I say, before it was all basically military. 4 counts, 4 counts, 4 counts, 4 counts, 8 counts. Now it's designed and theatrical, and therefore there's more to it that you've got to check on while you're playing these fantastic songs. It's not a case of just playing, let's see, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Stars. I mean, I'm going back to the Crusaders now. But I'm talking about not the Boston Crusaders, the Beverly Crusaders. But you're going into the Phantom, the opera. I mean, this type of music, orchestrations are tremendous. And they get more out of these horns than I think even Arthur Poole would have said could happen. Although Arthur was ahead of his time.
Yeah. Well, okay. If we're ready out in the control room, perhaps we can roll the first video insert here. Now we're going to watch the Boston Crusaders performing recently, July 18, I believe, in the.
Here's the. Oh, yeah.
There we saw the Boston Crusaders performing July 18, just last month here at
Now,
Hurt Stadium.
You know, if you turn around and you look at what they were doing, you see the flowing lines that they try to comprehend. As far as it was not straight down, you know. Before we used to go up and make a block, but not now. It's flowing lines and everything. The thing that always throws me loops is to watch that drum line doing cross-legged while they're playing. If I did that, I'd be flat on my back. But these kids can do this just as nice and not miss a beat, no problem at all. And it's just out of this world. I have nothing but admiration for these kids that go in and put all this time to do that type of thing. It is just unreal. And you know, you talk about a football player or a baseball player conditioning themselves. These kids do the same thing, but they do it for 15 minutes. That's it. That's their time on the diamond. And you know, not the whole game. They just have 15 minutes to put it all together.
A real labor of love, Peter.
It's got to be. It's got to be. And today, of course, there are so many things going on. It's hard to find this many kids to do that.
Yep.
There aren't that many units now around.
Yep. Let's go to another clip of photographs here and see what we have. This is a beautiful picture of downtown Cabot Street with the old Cornix store in the background.
Maybe you could use this on one of your other shows.
We already have.
You
the-
already have? Oh, that's great. No, that's the color guard coming down Cabot Street. Now, you see, knowing the parades, this probably was either just coming back on a Memorial Day parade, and I would say because of the clothes worn out, either that or the Armistice Day parade. One of the two.
We can see the old Ware Theater in the background.
Yeah. Of
Beautiful.
course, William Linsky is not there now. Connex is.
Absolutely. Yep.
Now, this is a good photo of Father Joe Manning. What we usually do is we have a graduation ceremony whereby all the kids from the Crusaders who are old enough and eligible to move into the Cardinals, we usually give them a banquet. We give the whole Corps a banquet. And they're spelled out. The man on the youngster on his left, Kevin Cassidy, if you happen to go to a store over in Salem, you'll find him there. Frankie Raffa, if anybody's looking for Frankie Raffa, just look under Raffa Construction Company. Frankie is also, right now, the president of the Alumni Association. So Frank has never left the activity.
Okay.
This is another picture in the mid-50s of the Cardinals in front of, again, the old high school. You don't mind me saying the old high school, yeah?
Not a bit. Not a bit. And it certainly was to many of us the old high school. Just that.
This next picture is a great picture of Father Mack and Father Bob Barrett together on the right-hand side, taken in front of St. Mary's. This is one of the ones that goes back a long way. Here again, it's probably the same picture coming down Cabot Street, and there's the National Bank. It hasn't changed.
Isn't that, well, actually, that's the old National Bank.
Yeah, that's the old National
That's the
Bank.
one, we can date this picture because this burned in 54. So
Okay, so we know when that is.
This is pre-1954.
If you look for Father Bob Barrett, the drum major out front, right to his left is Archie McNeil.
Fellow with his hands in his pocket.
Yeah, that's Archie. He checked to make sure everybody hit that corner the same count. Believe me, that's Archie.
Now, would they be going down to St. Mary's
They're
School?
going back to St. Mary's.
Is that where
Unless they change the streets.
But I
It's
say
going down Federal.
this is where they disbanded and
Yes, they're going
broke
back,
up and
going back to
went
the
home and so forth.
going
Yeah.
back to the school.
Okay.
And usually put a concert on afterwards for the nuns.
Yeah.
The next one is a picture. The reason we put it out here is we needed some new instrumentation, and the Bay Bank helped us out. They helped us out in making some donations. So we said, well, okay, we'll take a picture of the new instruments, all the horns holding the new instruments down in front of your bank.
Okay, now we're talking down Gloucester Crossing here.
Gloucester
Peter?
Crossing, Heritage Bank now.
Yep. Okay.
Here again, it's the same crew coming in.
We've covered that one, Pete.
1940,
That's-
yep.
Okay. All right. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the two groups, the Crusaders and the older group, of course, were the Cardinals. Now, you, for many, many years, were the manager, am I correct now, of the Crusaders, the youngsters?
Yes. When we decided, I was on the committee with my father when the Cardinals were on, and what we did was we started with the Cardinals, and then they decided they wanted a feeder corps, a younger corps, to supply this older group. So my father said, okay, you're the boss. See, as I told a lot of people, the drum corps in them days was known and run under what my father very pleasantly called a benevolent dictatorship. My father was the boss, and whatever he said, yes, Pa, we did, and that was it. But I was manager of the Crusaders when they first started.
What did that job entail, Pete?
Everything but the kitchen sink. You had to make sure the kids were properly trained, properly dressed, and made sure that you had the right instrumentation for all the kids. You got to make sure that the kid has a horn or a drum to play. And it meant sometimes fundraising and all that stuff.
You know, making sure that they all showed at a certain time, at a certain...
Well, I had an able
Performance.
staff, and it's like anything you do, and you know it as well as I do, if you didn't have a staff, like Eddie Trainer. Now, Eddie's is the type of guy, you needed something? Instruments. Ed, you take care of that. Fine. I had a right arm. This fellow was named Jim Tallow. He happened to work down at Beverly Savings Bank. And we played at his wedding, literally. He came down off the church steps at St. Mary's, and the drum corps was in the schoolyard playing for him. And even though his two kids never got into it, Jimmy, believe it or not, has been with me ever since then. He's
Great.
like another brother.
Great. Now, this group, the Crusaders, their age group was what, 6 to maybe 12, 13 years of age?
Well, depending upon whose son you was. Yes. Basically till 12 or 13. What we tried to do was get the kid at his mature stage to move in.